All right, guys, we are live with BTTB podcast. We are here with a special guest, Scott from Greenville University, powerlifting coach. We're going to have an amazing episode today. We're going to talk about all things powerlifting, talk a little bit of the difference between teen and collegiate athletes, and just going to have a good time, learn some things. So we're going to go hop on into it. Scott, I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes just to kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, your lifting background, your coaching background, and let the audience get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so Scott Boyles, Greenville strength and conditioning and powerlifting coach. I'm actually an alum of Greenville. I played baseball there. No, I had nothing to do with the weight training. Obviously, that got me into weight training. I showed up to campus at a soaking wet 135 pounds, and I had Tommy John surgery. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's, gets pitchers left and right. And essentially the surgeon, who was the Cardinals team doctor, was like, hey, if you don't gain strength, you're doing this again, and your career is just going to be injuries. And so I took that to heart, and I kind of fell in love with the weight room. I got to like 175-ish range, and that kind of actually changed my career. I did nothing different from a baseball perspective, but the strength I gained changed my career for the better. And then post college, because of that newfound love for the weight room, I was too far into my degree to change. And I became a personal trainer right out of college. Did that for 3 years. Used my degree for 7 years and taught high school history. I needed some income stability, trying to start a family. You know, the personal training track. It's a sales job.
Yep.
Just anyone listening. And then
it's definitely not a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah. You make all your money from January through May. And then I got hired on as Greenville strength coach. How long ago has that been? I'm in my 2nd year. And then a couple months in, they're like, hey, we love what you're doing. You want to start weightlifting? I'm like, I don't know anything about weightlifting, but I'll start powerlifting. And then the rest is history.
Is that what they meant by weightlifting, or did they actually mean like Olympic weightlifting?
I love all my admins, but when they asked me that, I don't know that they knew what they were asking.
I understand.
But when
there isn't any collegiate Olympic weightlifting competitions that I'm aware of, and I do follow Olympic weightlifters.
There is, but it's actually, I think it's smaller than power. I'm probably misspeaking, and someone's going to get mad. But they said weightlifting, and I said, well, I'll start powerlifting. So
awesome. So once again, how long have you been strength and conditioning at Greenville? Just for the record,
I'm only in year 2.
Okay. All right. So year 2 at Greenville, first year of the powerlifting team, right? I think we talked, and you said you had 12 initial recruits, and now you're down to 10?
10. I have 10 on the team, yeah.
Tell the audience what happened to the other 2.
Just grades, essentially, yeah.
I just want to point that out because I know that a lot of people think that, teenagers have it bad because, they got to keep a C average or whatever the school requires, but it stays the same in collegiate sports as well. So I just want to point that out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So since this is year 1, I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of time and really discuss what it was like starting a powerlifting team. I use team because you are not a club. You are actually 100% approved by the school, somewhat funded by the school as well, correct?
Yeah, we're a varsity sport. We're not, we're a club in the sense we're not an NCAA sport, but we're like a varsity sport at the school. Yeah.
But kind of go about that. Tell us some of the things that you would have never guessed going into that, some of the struggles that maybe you had, and just a little bit about what went into that.
Yeah, so I got asked to, I don't remember the month, maybe October, I got asked to do the team, and then I didn't get turned loose to actually start recruiting, I believe, until January. So I've only known this team's going to exist for like a month and like 13 months now. And so the first thing was, hey, bring in 6 new students that are only here to powerlift. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we made it very clear from the beginning, like if you come to Greenville to powerlift, you're not doing any other sports. It's not a good relationship. We're kind of year round. You're lifting to, be explosive, be strong on a field. You're only lifting a couple days a week. And powerlifters are not necessarily training like that, So it's just not a good relationship. So we just axed the whole dual sport thing from the beginning.
Now, quick question. Did that make it to where you had to offer better, I guess, scholarships or funding for it? Because I know from the history of the people that I've talked to, some of the people did dual sports for the funding purposes, because maybe the powerlifting side didn't meet all the financial needs, or kind of
Well,
talks about that real quick.
we're in a great spot. So we get all the benefits of being a varsity sport. We get all the benefits of not being affiliated with the NCAA. We're a D3 institution for our NCAA sports, which means they cannot have athletic scholarships, but my kids can. But so I will say, like, we do our financial aid a little differently, where these powerlifting scholarships for us are not huge, but we give a lot of academic money, and our tuition is relatively cheap compared to some of the other powerlifting schools. So and these kids can kind of build their own offers. The higher their GPA is, and the more like scholarships that we have internally that they apply to, taking a visit is worth another scholarship, the powerlifting scholarship, things like that. We can actually give them a really, really good offer. It's just, I can't hand you a golden ticket of like just powerlifting money. You have to go out and build this yourself. But by the time you do that, like, you're getting a really good deal. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I will point out that, unfortunately, at this time, most of the scholarship powerlifting clubs are what I would consider private institutions, which unfortunately,
Yeah, I think they all are.
I was about to say, I think they are. I've heard, I mean, because of NCAA rules and things like that. So it does somewhat usually mean tuition's a little higher and things like that. So I know that organizations have really worked hard to help students, apply for scholarships. Now, private institutions usually also offer higher scholarship amounts because they tend to have a long history of donor relationship and things like that some other schools don't, and they get more specialized scholarships because they're not spending, hundreds of millions like Alabama does on NIL deals nowadays.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there's something to say about the small school. I mean, your professors are gonna know you by name. You're not sitting in an assembly like a hall of 300 students for, history 101. It might be you and 15 other students, and this professor is gonna know you and see you around town. You're gonna get a very individualized education, and then by the time you're like a senior, you may be in a class of 4 kids, and like from an engineering perspective, like given that 1-to-4 ratio, like you're gonna be very prepared to go on further. Like you're gonna get super individualized care.
I would say that the campus atmosphere on a small private school is a lot more intimate, safer, a lot less worldly distractions potentially as well, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and then we even boast, I believe the stat is we're one of the safest campuses in Illinois and in the nation here at Greenville. So we have a really good campus safety team, do a good job keeping our students safe. So yeah, it's a small town. Kids are going to find trouble if they're seeking it out. But I mean, 70% of our students are athletes, though. So they're a little too busy to be getting into too much trouble.
All right. So we got a lot on actual college. So let's get back to the actual building the sport. I know when I saw you, the actual gym, or the whatever you want to call it, I consider it a gym, the fitness area or whatever you call it, wasn't even built yet, or wasn't, the equipment hasn't arrived. So how was that?
That's right. That's right. It was just a rendering on the
3D
paper,
printing.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Or
that's right.
A printing of a 3D image.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, it's in. Eleiko was the outfitter, and for people in the powerlifting world, Eleiko is the official equipment provider of the IPF.
Most beautiful plates I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, so we have 10 racks, and we have hybrid bars, and we have the bumper plates that are custom, and the racks are all custom, and that's amazing for the NCAA teams, and the powerlifters can still get good work. We have power bars too, and then we have an Eleiko full competition set that, like I'm currently in New Orleans for bench nationals, and it's the same rack that my athlete is going to use tomorrow. It's the exact same one. So when she's unracking at, rack height of 7, she just knew that already. She knew her rack height was going to be that. So it's fortunate having that partnership with Eleiko, especially
Now, is that Sweden or Germany? I can't remember.
Sweden. And
that's what I thought. Okay.
Eleiko was our equipment provider before I knew powerlifting was even going to be a thing. Like the Eleiko came first, not the other way around. And I think people like think the other way. They think powerlifting started and then, oh, well, I need to go get Eleiko. And it was actually the other.
Well, I don't think you see a Lego in a lot of collegiate gyms.
I believe
unless it's powerlifting.
I believe their quote to me was, "Where Greenville is their first ever wall-to-wall install at the collegiate level." Like they did everything.
Yeah.
Like there was one quote, one price. I didn't have to go get flooring and then go get this and go get that. They did all of it. Recruits come in our weight room and they like jaw drops.
Cause I see it on social media and I'm like,
yeah, we should.
I know that guy. I wonder if he'll come let me lift there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else other than all the work installing that and kind of getting that up and running and probably moving 10 pieces because you thought they were supposed to be there, but then you didn't like them there. What else about starting this program that has been challenging?
Recruiting is just it's all Instagram, to be honest. Like, I hate to say that, but it is all social media and it grew a lot faster than I was expecting it to. So, yeah, I've posted a few times on social media where it's like, hey, like if you're a class of 2026, I'll get to you. I see you, but like right now, I'm trying to get the tribes and their FAFSA done. I really like need to focus on them to make sure like we're getting their best financial aid package available, because you guys have like over a year until you would enroll in college, and they're like coming down the pipe. So I really need to focus on them right now. So
would you say that you're actually active recruiting people, or they're coming to you? I think because there's a huge difference between that.
It started, I was reaching out, and it's becoming less that and more people finding me. And that's the power, I think, of social media. Is we have a really good social media coordinator in our athletics department, and he kind of talked to us all about like, hey, you got to post daily. Like that is what gets people.
I am jealous of. I mean, I follow y'all, and it's great content. It's a diverse content. Like I love the reel that you did the other day about what's your worst or what's your least favorite thing to see on your training program.
Yeah.
You know, things like that are fun and a little bit different. So whoever's doing that is doing a great job.
We got a good one coming. We just we got to find a time to film it, but we got a good one coming.
I literally just bought, because one of my goals for the club, especially as I reach out and do more things not centered around the kids, specifically where I need funding that isn't parent driven. I know I got to build a bigger social media. So we just bought wireless mics, and we're going to start doing kind of some of those type of interview questions. Plan on doing it even during like competitions, because I think that'd be a kind of good time to interview with just a dumb, or what are you thinking about going into this third squat type thing? So I'm excited about that.
I had a wireless mic and I just bought an iPhone, and now I have the new port. Now it doesn't even work on it. So I had them, but now it's obsolete.
So recruiting now is going better because they're coming to you and not you driving and trying to find them.
I'm still looking, but if you're that good, I've already found you. Like I already know about you.
Yeah.
And I've already reached out. So how
much time do you spend on the results tabs of federations and like record tabs of federations? Is that where you're going to look, or?
No, I'm looking, like, for example, Powerlifting High School Nationals. I went and looked on their, like, who signed up already, and I just went and flipped through the names. Powerlifting High
that's a good resource.
Just released a coaches recruiting resource, and I actually have a couple campus visits coming up from people I found from that I would have never found the traditional way. So I got to give props to Powerlifting High for that.
Go follow them on social media. That actually is a very interesting site. They do like top 50, top 100 lifters and all kinds of crazy things.
No, they have a great platform.
I actually have reached out to them about maybe getting him on the podcast, I don't even know if it's a him, so I apologize if I'm did that. But just because they've been doing that way before, or even before what I consider high school lifting as popular as it's become now. I mean, they've been around for a little while. So
and then honestly, I have a commit just because I competed. I met him there, and I was like, hey, you went to I think it was USAPL High School Nats. I was like, hey, if you ever are interested in Greenville, and now he's deposited and going to be here in the falls. Do want
to point out what he just said is he competed. I know one of the things that we talked in my Better Through the Barbell interview with just myself, which was weird. But one of our rules is coaches have to continue competing at least once a year unless there's an injury or anything like that, just because we want the kids to be understanding that we're speaking from experience and not from past experience, but current. We're in and out of the training room, still hitting the gym regularly, still understanding the stress of what it's like to be 2 weeks out. So let me get a quick minute for you to tell me what do your college students think about, your active grind, still competing, still trying to hit PRs and things like that.
I think they respect that I have the exact same rule, barring injury. I think they respect it, but I mean, they're busy, so they're not like, and I also train in the middle of the day. They're all in class. They don't ever see me training. So yeah, I mean, and that's just going to be my rule for anyone who competes here. But yeah, I think there is.
So do you train in the middle of the day because you don't want the 19-year-old stud to...
No, I train in the middle of the day because that's when I'm free. So teams are in there from like...
I've seen some of these collegiate athletes, though. They can put up some big numbers.
Yeah. So 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. teams are in there in the morning, and then 3:30 to like 6:30 or so teams are in the afternoon. So I have the middle of the day to get my work done. So yeah, but and then I think me doing that, and when like kids are going through like a fun, because how it is. Like, so if I see on my program it's like a 1x1 at RPE 9, I'm like, oh, and then I immediately get a number in my head of like that's what it's got to be today. And if I don't hit that number, I'm like, oh, you're worthless. Like, why are you even doing this? Like, you didn't hit that number, and that should have been a number that you smoked. And I have an athlete who thinks that exact same way. So when I'm like talking to him about that, like, I can actually relate to like, no, I get it. Like, you probably feel like you should just quit right now. And like, I promise you are fatigued from the last 3 weeks of training. So RPE 9 today is different than an RPE 9 later down the road. So yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Like I said, I think that's important. I know that a lot of the people that I follow, as far as a club standpoint, especially with teens, are still active competing. And I think that's mainly because, that age group is you can get respect when they know that you're coming from a place of experience rather than a place of authority. Teenagers, high school, college, they're a little anti-authority at that age. So
yeah,
I just find that important. So at this time, let's take a little bit of time and let's talk about, I think before we get into specific powerlifting training, mentalities and methodologies, I'd really like to tell us, since you are the athletic training coach for all sports there, what's a little bit different? How do you handle the nuances of maybe training a basketball player, a soccer player versus, a powerlifting athlete?
Yeah. The biggest thing is just the style of training for an NCAA team. Like, they're most likely moving moderate weight fast and trying to be explosive. You want to be bigger, faster, stronger. So obviously you do need raw strength, but when you're more in season, you're just trying to keep them on the field. I'm thinking like football right now for some reason. But yeah, you go from like in season, like get bigger, but you're still moving it fast, to in season of like, we're just maintaining. And then like, okay, let's say I have a good athlete who's a football player and he's a little tight. He's squatting to decent depth, but he's not hitting our powerlifting competition standard. Like, we're not splitting hairs over that. But if you're a powerlifter and you're not hitting depth, that's not a squat. Like, if you're not hitting that competition standard, like, you need to reassess, drop the weight, and like go start back hitting the competition standard again. Because if you start that bad habit even now, like, that's going to come back to bite you on the stage when it matters. And I kind of got that stubbornness from Brad at McKendree, because he's like, yo, if it's not competition standard in training, then like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah. So now, I would say that depth, definitely. I don't hate on my kids too much for like pausing until we get to like reps of 3. As long as they're not bouncing it off the chest, as long as I see some kind of slow movement. But I'm not that particular on the bench, because I don't know. I don't want to pause a set of 8.
I mean, my pauses are pretty quick when I'm doing sets of 4 or more. Yeah.
But I do love the fact that you have to hold the high standard early and consistently, or that standard is harder to meet once you get close to that platform.
Yeah, %.
So let's go into a little more specific and how you kind of go about building an athlete. And if you want to start, let's just start from like, say it's day one on campus, and kind of, I guess the goal would be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you probably have at least one qualifying meet scheduled sometime late fall.
Yeah.
And then most collegiate nationals, no matter what the federation is, going to be late spring or mid spring, depending on how your semester is technically scheduled. So you come on campus probably mid to late August, and you're trying to compete at nationals early April. So kind of, you don't have to give us no Greenville secrets or anything, but just kind of walk us through kind of how you plan that out, when you plan on competing, and then how you go about saying, hey, we're 16 weeks out, this is what we're going to do first 4 weeks, the next 4, so on. Just a little bit of brief description.
So they move in late-ish August, mid to late August, and then our first meet is October 20th or something like that. It was up at MPG Fitness in Aurora. Sebastian, he always puts on great meets. He does like one a month. It's insane. So we do the Boo Bash too. So I broke the team down essentially because some of these kids I've never seen before. Like, you know, I mean, obviously I see them, but you know, they're on campus for the first time. Like, who has powerlifting experience, and then who doesn't. Those with powerlifting experience, a little more aggressive program, and then this group, pretty basic. Learning competition standards, learning the commands, things like that. Just get them in a structured, periodized program, and like see what happens when they just get structure for the first time.
I assume you want to probably get them in a competition earlier on in the season, just so if something goes wrong, you have some time to kind of make up for that too.
They all do the same. And I only had 12 at the first meet. So, one was hurt. So I had 11 at the first meet. So it was kind of hectic for me as a coach, but my assistant strength coach came to help warm them up. So like it helped having that extra, and the men were a little more experienced than the women were. So I could kind of like, I left them alone a little more just as a whole. That's not a knock to my female lifters. It's just the men lifters had more experience in high school and whatnot. So they knew a little bit more what to do. So and then some of those that with the less experience responded very well to the training stimulus of just that basic program. And then the more advanced lifters, I knew the gains wouldn't come as quick. So we're, doing whatever it is for the day, backing off, then doing accessories and whatnot. And then for those, so we have an in-house qualifying total because we do Powerlifting America. So all you have to do in Powerlifting America is get a total of, 75 kilos. It's just 25 kilos on each lift. Then you're qualified for nationals. So, but we set an in-house one because I can't just afford to take everyone. And it's got to mean something to go to nationals. Yeah. So those who hit...
I will say they're doing that right now because that's a new federation. It's been around for, I think, 3 years now. Do you know how many currently they have signed up for Collegiate Nationals? Roundabout, you can guess.
I don't have a clue. All I look is where my kids are ranked within their weight class.
I don't know if are there 100 yet?
I think there's more than that.
Okay. 200?
If I split the difference of those two?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking, because I looked at it about a month ago. I'm just curious. And we're going to get onto that topic a little later on.
Yeah, we're also going to get on, and it's going to be like 250 are signed up.
Yeah. Okay. It's not the same as the other Collegiate Nationals.
No,
which has
it's less.
1,240, I think, currently.
Yeah, but it is a lot more than there were last year.
Qualifying?
It's basically, it all kind of worked out because I was like, you either can qualify for USAPL CNATs, or you would have finished in the top half of UniNats last year, and whichever one is easier. And that always ended up being about the same number. Like, it was crazy how much it like kind of like evened out. So yeah, I mean, I ended up having 5 qualify at the first meet we did. And then those who didn't qualify, we did another meet in January where I gave them another chance to qualify. Yeah, in the St. Louis Open. Gave them another opportunity to qualify. They didn't. One is knocking on the door, and then another female athlete is also knocking on the door. She's only been powerlifting for it's February, like 6-7 months.
Okay.
So
I have a topic I want to get onto after we get done with this, but so you mentioned basic program. Can you kind of give me a short definition of what you actually mean by that? Because basic is very bland. What would you consider a basic program?
Yeah, just of course I'm blanking on the very basic terminology, but like more reps, less weight, do a little fewer reps, little more weight, fewer reps, add more weight.
Mm-hmm.
Deload, recycle.
Okay.
That's a very basic term that I'm completely blanking on right now, and I apologize. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it.
Would you say it's a more of a linear program? Is that what you're?
Yeah, yeah. Shoot.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I've just been powerlifting for 6 months. How often are they lifting, and how often are they hitting your regular squat, bench, and deadlift in a week?
6 months for me is a pretty advanced lifter considering where some of them are coming from. 4 to 5 days a week, depending on, like, some kids just can't do 5. They're like, I can't recover. Like, okay, 4's fine. Some kids
Are some of those the bigger kids?
no,
Okay.
it's person to person. I would say it's like if they were to play sports, it's like the twitchier kids burn out a little quicker. And those are the kids that, like, they're the type that their rep fatigue, rep to rep, like, goes quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They can't grind out reps like a slower twitch kid can.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fast twitch, like they can do one rep really, really well, but that second rep is like the fatigue on it is already high because they just burn out really quick. But they can do that one rep really, really good. So those are the types that, like, their CNS gets a little fried quicker. So they may be a 4-day-a-week type, and then maybe they do still come in a 5th day and just do something really light. But you're looking 2 squats, 2 deads, 3 to 4 bench press days. Something like that. I think a big reason why you see a lot of high school kids have big squats and deadlifts already, and their bench is maybe lagging, is what we would say. Is I don't know that the volume's there yet.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that a 15, 16-year-old, well, almost any female could bench 3 to 4 times a week easy because the amount on the bar. I say that now, and now you have two. That's nothing for a woman to bench 200 compared to what it was like 3 years ago. But normal average benchers can bench 3 to 4 times without really damaging their central nervous system because the load compared to a heavy squat is so much less. So
yeah,
and I don't think, unfortunately, the squat and deadlift have been glorified a lot more nowadays with social media, and just how much they're moving. I mean, unless your name is Julius, no one's really watching your bench videos, so I think that also plays a factor of how often they're training because, it's way cooler to show a squat PR with multiple plates than show a bench PR with maybe 1 or 2.
Well, and then like not the Heleco plates. Look at me, like I'm a sponsor of them. The powerlifting plates, you have like 2 reds and a green on it, and it's like there's nothing on the bar. It's like, no, that's 308 pounds. Like, it doesn't look like there's much on there, but there is.
Hence why I use bumpers and fake plate. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Those fat, like, rogue bumpers.
Yep. The Echo versions, not the competition versions.
Yeah. 4 plates looks like you're deadlifting 800 pounds.
Yeah. All right, so standard lifts. I want to get on to the point where, and I think this is important for some of the older teenage audience. I want to reiterate and kind of explain, you're literally recruiting some lifters that have zero competition experience.
Yeah.
Kind of tell me why that is, and what makes that so special with Greenville, I think.
Yeah. I actually wanted to touch on, progressive overload is that term, by the way. So I have 2 committed females, unannounced, but announcing them soon, that are coming in next year, who I found one on social media. She clicked that she's interested. She applied to the school, clicked interested in powerlifting. She wanted to play softball, called the softball coach, like, hey, you recruiting? He's like, no, we're only losing 1 senior, so we're like really not looking to add anyone. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call her. Called her, found her on Instagram. There it is. Found her on Instagram. And her profile picture in the back is her weight room leaderboard, and her name is at the top of all of them. And they're like impressive lifts. And hold on. Hi, I'm Coach Voiles for the Powerlifting School. You shouldn't be playing softball. You need to be powerlifting. You may have never heard that before, but let's get you on campus and take a visit. And just like, if this isn't for you, it's not for you. And then she fell in love with it, and she's like, no, I want to do this. So, I mean, she's benching just in high school PE like 3 days a week, 30 minutes, and she's benching 190. So, and she has not done powerlifting yet.
What's her weight class?
76 or 84 kilos, something like that.
about a buck 60, between a buck 60 and a buck 80 somewhere.
Is somewhere between 167, 184, somewhere
So
there. And then I have two of those. The other one, same deal. Except this one I didn't really find. Her very well-known strength coach in Illinois, reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, she is strong." And I'm like, "Well, if you say she's strong, then she's strong." He's like, "Yeah, she's single leg split squatting 225. Whoa. Like, hold on. Yes, have her call me right now. So she's pulling close to 4, and she's same situation, lifting 3 days a week in PE, 30 minutes.
I have one of those that unfortunately is still in the dark side and loves team sports and normal, sports. And I'm like, I think I might have told you. So she was 12 at the time and hit a 770 total.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I'm like, why are you playing soccer? But it's what she loves and what she's passionate about. I just say silent prayers that God brings her to the right sport later in her high school career where she could totally excel.
Yeah, and I had to get a recruit from the airport because we had a big event on campus called Scholarship Day. And I got him from the airport. And I'm like, "Hey, tell me about this kid." And he's like, "Hey, he's really strong. He's really good at powerlifting, but he's going to play football because he just loves football." I'm like, "Okay, if he loves football, go play football."
And that's what
yeah.
Don't commit to something you don't love. And I would never ask an athlete to do that. But I also think sometimes what you love and what you're great at aren't the same thing. Yeah. And I think it's a hard pill for young people to understand. And I think sometimes you weren't designed to actually love what you do right now because you're not giving the other thing enough time.
And you learn to love it. Yeah. And that was kind of the way with that second softball player. Like that first phone call when I was like, "Hey, you can't dual sport," like that did not go over well. And apparently behind the scenes, she eventually came back and contacted me, but behind the scenes, mom was like, "Maybe this is what you need to do." Mm-hmm. And then they came and took a visit to campus, and that's what they're doing. And I'm really excited to have both of them on. So, okay. But yeah, clearly, Jalen Hurts' dad was a high school powerlifting coach, and he made the decision to keep playing football, and it worked out for him. So,
he's got a nice contract extension that says, and a Super Bowl ring that says, "I'm doing okay."
Yeah, playing football was the right decision for him, even though he was squatting 600 pounds in high school.
Now, as a strength and conditioning coach for multiple sports, I want to talk to you about this because I have this conversation with a lot of parents currently. Because I feel, and you can correct me or you can tell me you don't agree with me, but I feel like there's a fad going around in youth and teenage training, which is let's do all speed and agility. Like that is the new hot topic. And I'm like, you could learn footwork for hours upon a day, but it's not going to return the investment if you were lifting 3 times a week at 12 years old. Because that's going to carry so much more compound interest on skill than learning how to do a footwork ladder drills or cone drills. Let me get your opinion on that and what you would say if you were saying, "Hey, I have this 12-year-old that wants to be a collegiate athlete." Let's not say what sport or anything like that. Just tell me what your advice would be to a 12 or 13-year-old in what the importance, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3.
Yeah, well, first I'm going to tell them to put this down because a lot of the stuff you see on here isn't real. You see a pro doing one drill, and that's when I see a pro doing those drills, that's cherry on top, but you're missing the rest of the pie.
Do you know how many kids I've seen do that stability ball training now because LeBron posts it on social media all the time?
And they forget that LeBron is also really strong. Or that pitcher that they see doing that agility ladder is stronger than you by an exponential margin. I was talking to Lauren, my associate head coach, about this the other day. They see it on Instagram and they think, "Well, this is gonna be the breakthrough." It's no, you weigh 165. You need to weigh 195, and you need to get strong. Because the stronger you are, the more force you can put into the ground, and that's going to cut you in a different direction better than a speed ladder is. That's my soapbox. So
What I told another person, and I want your opinion on this. I said, okay, off season should all be strength at 12, 13,
Yeah.
14. If you want to have speed and agility on in season because you don't want to add risk to injury. Now, don't get me wrong, your professional athletes are still lifting during on season, but that would be a better time because that, at least one, it's more specific to what they're doing at their sport and has a better chance of not increasing injury capability.
Yeah. I mean, in-season lifting for us is very, like, just maintain. Like, what's the minimum effective dose? It's kind of like a doctor.
But
What is
y'all
the
are still
minimum?
doing it, and y'all are still doing it sub-maximum.
And they're going relatively heavy.
Yeah.
But, like, we're monitoring the workload. We're modifying when there's aches and pains. But, yeah, and I put the football team through hell last spring. You'll know what this means, I think, but they met a man named Jim Windler in theory, and they'd never done anything like that before. Asking them on, that top set to do what that program asked of them is, yeah, they're going to get stronger, but like mentally what it did to them. You start to notice, like, on those top end sets, they start getting a little more aggressive with the bar. That aggression translated to the field. I'll take an aggressive athlete over a passive athlete any day of the week. And then our IR went from 3 pages on a Word document to like a paragraph. So I don't know how much of that was like a free, loose, aggressive athlete is less injury prone than a uptight, tense athlete. And, now you have guys flying around the field. They're exponentially stronger than they were the previous year. And yeah, our injuries this year on the football field were like freak accidents, like kid breaks his forearm on a helmet. Someone gets tackled and their knee, gives out. And that's what I want. I want injuries to be catastrophic things that we can't plan for.
Yeah.
I don't want those soft tissue injuries to be happening on my watch. So, yeah.
So back to what you would say if you were going to talk to a 13-year-old right now that says, hey, I want to be a collegiate athlete. What would you tell them the top 3 priorities would be?
Learn how to hinge very well, learn how to squat very well, and learn how to push, like do a push-up with correct form as early as, not the, like, you've seen it like they like chicken wing and they like do those little tricep push-ups. Teach them how to do a really nice push-up as early as possible, and then get them pulling correctly with a full scap retraction around the rib cage and then back. So a full range of motion pull of some sort. But the hinging properly is like, that is sports.
Yeah, I don't know if teenagers know they have a hip bone, honestly.
Yeah. I think part of it is the old school, like I remember growing up playing basketball and, you hear your coach scream, bend your knees, as in get lower. Well, in reality, it's move your butt back. Like hinge. That's what they're actually asking me to do, is they were asking me to hinge to get in a better defensive position. Bending my knees did nothing. It made me more unathletic, if anything.
Yeah. So I know that my least favorite exercise to teach any young athlete is an RDL, because that is 95% hinging, and I'm telling you, it's not. They don't realize they have a hip bone or that it moves.
Yeah. My assistant, there was one that we have these things called 3D straps, and I got them for baseball to do like hip shoulder separation type stuff. And then she had them like on the softball team's waist, and she was having them like do RDLs with the weight pulling, like the weight was pulling their hips back. And I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't think of that? Like, Lauren, you're a genius.
All right. I'm going to need that on the next video on the Greenville page, because that seems interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So we went over what a basic training was. Let me get kind of a synopsis of what you're telling your athletes on game day as far as competition day. Like what goes into it? What are the things you're talking about maybe during warm up? What is it that you're making them focus on attempt 1 versus, what are you emphasizing on that third attempt?
I kind of check in with everyone. How are you feeling today? And sometimes how they feel, like when we get there at weigh-ins, is a lie. And then it turns out they feel better.
2-hour weigh-ins, I want to mention. So
yeah, 2-hour weigh-ins, not 24. So I don't encourage the water cutting at a 2-hour weigh-in whatsoever. Like maybe if you're like a pound, but like that's it. I really hammer the commands in the warm-up area. especially because some of those, it was their first ever meet. So like hammering the
So
commands.
when were you starting commands during training in a situation
About
like that?
4 weeks out. About 4 weeks
That's
out. I
exactly
mean,
when I start.
they are aware of it, but I really don't start because I want them just thinking about getting stronger. Like we'll start, with those new powerlifters. We started commands about 4 weeks out, and then you hammer them home, and we had some command hiccups. Of course, I mean, shoot, we have experienced lifters that have command hiccups, so we did have some, but not a whole lot. And then, basically one lift at a time. And the big mental cue is slow down. Like, don't get sped up. Like, wait. It's slower than you think it is.
Yeah. I tell my kids that their anxiety is going to make them seem like they're on crack, basically, that everything they're going to want to do faster. So they have to mentally talk to themselves and be like, slow down.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Yeah. And then, because they don't know it, but when they're unracking on squat and they're walking it out and they're looking at that head referee with their hand up, they're like, come on, give me the down, give me the squat command. And they don't realize that there's two referees on the side that that head referee's rating for to give the command to. So it's like, slow down. It's okay. Like, less time is passing than you think. Like,
I know I work with my kids when we're getting ready for a comp, and none of my command links are ever the same amount of time, just because you're going to get different judges. Is that something you work with, especially like on a bench? I might see the bar stay or motionless for a second before I give it, just because I don't want them to try to anticipate the call. Is that something you work with, or is that something you've ever played around with?
I mean, that would only really be a factor. Well, I guess on the rack commands.
Yep.
But we have a bunch of different people giving commands, so that kind of varies it in general.
It automatically does it. Yeah.
The stereotype is that Powerlifting America has the quickest, press commands, which may be true. It definitely shorter than
I think that's just a marketing tool that they're using to hate on their other competition, which was always notorious for having the longest pause commands.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always like, well, we're the real, this is everyone. I feel like we're the real federation with squat depth. And one of my volunteer assistants is an old NASA Federation competition. He's like, you got to go all the way down. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of here too. So yeah. But
so what are you talking? How are you preparing them for that third attempt? Tell me what that's like.
I kind of like to gauge kid to kid. Some of them are like, do not tell me what's on the bar. And so with those kids, I'm like, hey, this is going to be slow off the ground. But once you get it up, it's going to go up. It's going to feel heavy. You're going to fight it. But like, I try to describe what they're going to go through. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, this is a weight that you've done before. I may lie to them. I may straight up lie to them and be like, hey, you've done this weight before.
I do that. I load the bar sometimes with more weight than I tell them is, just so they'll fail, so they can learn what that's like in the gym versus on competition day. Because I think that's something, and like I said, our target athlete is, my target athlete's probably 5 years, 6 years younger than yours. So I'm definitely dealing with a lot less mental maturity. But I mean, I've seen grown men at competitions look like crybaby when they don't hit something, because they've just never been told that that's not correct, or that's wrong. Or so I try to instill that lesson early. Like I said, if I have to lie and put more weight on it, or do something, I need them to understand what failure is like. And that's a great time. How do you handle that athlete when they miss that third? What are you telling them to go and get their mind right for that next set of lifts?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, hey, that was an all-time PR. It was right there. Like, I've never had someone fail their third attempt to where it was just like, the bar came down and didn't even budge off their chest or what, or they just got folded. They always, there was a fight there that, just they got to their sticking point, wherever that is for them, and they didn't come through. And it's like, hey, it was right there. But hey, guess what? I'm giving you 5 minutes to stew on that, but then you've got to forget it because now you have bench press coming up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of my favorite lines, and this is what I tell a lot of my athletes, which luckily with inexperienced athletes, you kind of get to hit PRs usually on that second attempt. So I usually lie and be like, that third one doesn't count because you already PR'd. Like, it's just for, all the marbles. Let's see what's in the tank. Sometimes we're going to guess wrong. Sometimes we're going to guess right. But my favorite thing about powerlifting, unlike other sports, is there's always next time to hit that PR. Like, there's no, unlike other sports where you're trying to win a national championship. And I know some powerlifters are doing that, but your traditional lifter is just going there to hit PRs and hit numbers they've never seen before. And some days you got it. And if you don't have it this day, guess what? Sign up for one in 5 months and train again. It's going to happen as long as you're putting all the effort in. So I'm a firm believer in, next time, don't stew on this and let yourself not go for that next time because you think you're a failure. Use this as fuel to that fire, and let's get in that gym in 3 or 4 days and train harder, because the only thing that's going to guarantee success is more effort.
Yeah. It's what's the quote? Like, I can't do it yet. Can't do it yet. Yeah. So yeah. And yeah, kind of that same thing. It's like, what's the old thing? It's like the opener's like, I know I can. I think I can. I hope I can.
Yep. And like, I like that. I don't think I've ever heard that, but I do like it.
I don't remember where I heard that, but it's like, it's not exactly perfect, but like for a beginner lifter, I'd say that's a very good place to start.
Okay. So I think let me get your opinion on this as a coach that coaches both experienced and unexperienced. You hear the thing that you got to go 9 for 9 at your first meet. Do you sign on for that stereotype, or what would your goal be at your first comp for an athlete you're coaching?
To me, my rule of thumb, obviously going 9 for 9 is great, but I think what I like to say is, let's make it where you go, and this is also very dependent on the athlete and their goal for that meet. But it's like, okay, nothing's really riding on the line. Let's this is just me and a private client. Like, let's go 7 for 9. You hit openers that you know you're going to get, small PRs on your seconds, and one of those thirds you hit a massive PR.
Yeah.
And the other two are just like, maybe they were there, and maybe you get 2 of them and you go 8 for 9. But
yeah,
like, I'd say 7 for 9 with 1 massive PR and 3 small PRs is a very good day.
I like that mentality. Like I said, I tell my athletes that second one, we're shooting for a PR most of the time. And if we're not, we know it's because there's a massive PR and we're just kind of saving it for that third a little bit. But I think, like I said, I'm a firm believer that if we put 9 for 9 on that goal, that's just another thing that you can possibly fail at and maybe hinder your mentality for the sport too much too quickly.
Yeah. I mean, my last meet. Go ahead.
Because it might not be strength that you miss it. You might lose balance, and you can't always control that. There's bad things, or I shouldn't say bad, but missteps are going to happen in any lift. And I never want to put added pressure on my kids to think that 9 for 9 is the goal. No.
Yeah.
I want to PR on something. I don't even necessarily care if it's on everything. You could have accidentally hit a huge PR 8 weeks ago on deadlift, and you might not have a PR yet. You might need a little more time to, build that strength in that lift.
Yeah. I mean, my last meet, I went 6 for 9. I had a number in my head, and I misgrooved my third on squat. Still almost got it up, but when you're redlining like that, a misgroove is a death sentence on a lift. And so then I'm like, well, that's a safe jump on my third on bench, but let's go for something ridiculous because I already failed that one. And I still felt like I had a decently successful 6 for 9 day. Like, I still hit PRs, it wasn't the end all be all because I didn't go 9 for 9.
Okay.
And honestly, missing that third squat freed me up to take attempts I probably shouldn't have taken on my thirds just to see where I was at.
Yeah. When you get up in age and up in experience, it's not an easy thing to hit squat and deadlift PRs in the same day, just because of how much it takes out of you, especially if you're hitting big PRs.
Yeah.
All right, great. I think that's a lot about a collegiate, like how you handle your athletes and stuff. Let's get into, say I'm a 17 or 18-year-old about to graduate. Let's tell the audience, what is the best way to get noticed? What's the best way to get Greenville's attention? and kind of go through that process, because I think that's important, because I don't think a lot of lifters, especially ones that might not think that they're the best, so they shouldn't reach out. I think that's a thing someone that doesn't feel qualified enough to come to a powerlifting team might do. So let's tell the audience what the best way to get noticed and what are the must-dos, like filling out the interest form and things like that.
Yeah. So, grades. Like, the better your grades are, the more money you're going to get from us. And if your grades aren't good enough, you're not even going to be able to come here. So, number one, grades. The better you do in school, the more money I can give you and get you. Okay? That's number one. I don't want someone on the team who, like, if I'm scrolling through their social media and I don't like what I see, I'm sorry. I'm not recruiting you, because then I'm going to babysit you for 4 years, and I'm not about that. You're going to be an adult. I got 3 kids that are 7, 5, and 3. Going to be 3.
Took you a little while there.
Yeah. Not babysitting a 19-year-old. Sorry. So if I find you on social media, flip through, and I'm like, no. So I will ignore them.
What would you say are some disqualifiers that you're not looking for on social media? Because I think that could be different, and I think that's a good shout out to kind of educate the audience.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. So Greenville is a private Christian school. There's an expectation of, like, abstaining from alcohol. So if I'm seeing, stuff that I'm like, they're going to come here, they're not going to, change that habit, that they're just going to be in trouble with the school all the time. And they're going to be getting banned from competing because of this. So I'm not going to do arrogance is a big one. Not having humility, because this sport humbles you quickly. And your teammates don't want someone who's arrogant like that they're going to be around constantly. So things like that. Yeah, just like lewd behavior, I'd say. Yeah. I'm not.
So no comp videos blaming the judges for your misses, or don't post your party videos. I don't understand why teenagers do that anyway. Like,
and like sometimes like the post, like the complaint they have is legitimate. Like I'm not going to name the kid, but he was at high school nationals in USAPL, and he unracks the bar and the weight slides, because I don't remember if they forgot the clamp or didn't clamp it on, and he gets the re-rack. And then, what are the odds of that happening in powerlifting meet, right? Very slim. His third attempt, it happened again to him. So he had to walk out 5 squats. And he's like, this affected me. And it's like, that's a legitimate complaint.
Yeah.
But if you're going on social media blasting a referee about, like, they saw up, down in your press command, it's like, well, if 2 of them saw it, then it was probably there. So, there's a difference in the complaining to me. Like, that one was legitimate.
I agree, but I mean, at the same time, you're always going to have something to complain about. If you're willing to take it to social media, that just says something about, you needing to be validated, or what you're willing to do to. So I just say that because, like, teenagers, unfortunately, aren't really good about accepting blame. So I warn that for any athlete listening that, yes, social media is your American freedom to say what you want, but just realize that every action has consequences, and that could determine, you being recruited or something. So it is viewed by the world and can be judged by the world on you.
Yeah, and I'll defend him. I'll defend that kid. Like, he wasn't trying to be malicious. Like, he was like, it was fatiguing walking out 5 squats. He's like, and I think I have that third attempt if, like, I don't get taxed like that, because he had to re-rack it and then walk it out again.
Yeah.
So, but
not only that, but just the mental stress that causes on you. Yeah.
What are the odds it happens to him both times? Like, so slim. Yeah.
But okay, what else? Other than you looking at their social media, what's the best way to get noticed?
I mean, obviously, so grades. If you're finding, what I consider to be, like, behavior that doesn't live up to our standard as a team, and then obviously a base of strength would be nice. I mean, it's not the end all be all, because powerlifting you can develop and get stronger, but the quicker you can do damage, the better, obviously. So, but yeah, that to me, like, I'm trying to get these kids, like, because statistically speaking, you're going to earn more money over a lifetime with a college degree. So I'm trying to get these kids out of here with a college degree at the end of the day. And the powerlifting stuff is secondary to creating.
It's not like the professional, even the Sheffield athletes, they're not making millions off the sport.
Yes.
Unless they have a knack on social media that has caused them to be a 1 in a million kind of influencer.
Yeah, I mean, when you see interviews with who won this year? Shell won this year, but last year's winner, Gustav, he got third. When you see him do interviews, he's like, I got 30 grand off Sheffield, a nice chunk of change, but he's like, I invested it because I have a really good job here in Sweden. Like, it's like they have jobs, they have full-time jobs, these Sheffield athletes. So yeah. So
they're not the same. It's definitely not. No one's getting NFL contract money lifting some weights, unfortunately. Sometimes I think it's more impressive. I'm sorry, I've seen, what is it, Jose or whatever his name is, rep 200 or 1,000 for 2 reps. I'm sorry, that's almost as better than any Tom Brady touchdown I've ever seen, because that's insane. All right, so I know that you always have a form out there that people can fill out for interest. And I think I saw where the school is now going to do some like meet and greet, like come to campus type events.
Well,
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm actually pulling up so every fall and spring we'll do a powerlifting experience day. So I'm trying to so there's all the time in our Instagram bio on Greenville Powerlifting, there's a jot form in our bio that you can click, give us basic information about yourself, GPA, anticipated major. Because another thing is, like, if we don't have your program of study, like, don't come here, because then you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be a pain. So go somewhere where you're going to be happy. There's a link to the meet we're hosting called the I-70 Open, and then there's a link to the Experience GU Powerlifting Day. So that's a day that you can come visit campus in more of a group setting. And it's also worth the same visit scholarship that a private individual one would be. You get to tour campus, but you also get to do it with other people looking to come here and powerlift. So the last one we hosted, we had 10. I want to say 4 are committed to come. Of those 10, 1 visited multiple other schools, and full disclosure, our equipped lifting doesn't exist at Greenville yet. And she was an equipped lifter, so she wanted to go somewhere where she was equipped. And she didn't love the school, and that's fine. So go somewhere where where you're going to be happy. And I think, given what she wanted, she made the right decision not to come to Greenville, and that's fine. Like, go be happy somewhere else. Like, this is the rest of your life that you're potentially dealing with here. So, yeah.
What else? Anything else they can do to kind of, that you would recommend to get attention of a powerlifting program or moving forward? I know we discussed high school nationals is definitely a recommendation. I think that sets yourself. It's one of the only events where it's all going to be high school kids, so that kind of is a good way to tell where you stand versus your peers. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to be at Powerlifting America High School Nationals in person because the weekend before that is University Nationals, and I'm not going to go from Atlanta.
I don't understand
to
why they don't separate those, because
I talked to them about it. It's a one-off loop.
Well, I know they're aware. APL does that frequently too. They'll be a week apart. Yeah,
it's more to do logistically with them securing venues. They're not doing it maliciously to make it a pain on the coach. Like, no, it's what's best venue-wise for them. There's, like, I'll be watching, though. I'm watching the live stream. I was like, oh, try to find him. Like, things like that, and then reach out. So, yeah, and then the Powerlifting High recruiting portal, I don't remember what they call it, but sign up for that. We get the email that you're interested, and you can even check, like, I live in Texas. I don't want to leave the state of Texas. And then I can look at it and be like, oh, okay. I
didn't know they had that. Yeah. That's an interesting. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I have quite a few freshmen and quite a few 8th graders in my program. That's because that's kind of where my daughter's age started. So that's where my main ability to recruit from really started. So I'm using a lot of these learning tools to start telling my athletes as they go into their sophomore, junior year of what to be doing, how to do it, and kind of what to be looking out for. So I didn't realize that high school that website had a recruiting tool.
I don't, from the athlete end of things, I don't know how to get there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I get an Excel sheet and it says, and it has all their names, and they have some rules, as they have good rules behind, like, hey, like this, there's this information and parent information, and then like, what else do they have?
There's got to be a way to sign up to at least get on the radar then if they have information about the athlete.
Yeah,
so
and I'll
have to look into that.
They have preferred major, graduation year, GPA, SAT, ACT, preferred college location. They can do within my state, anywhere, within my region. So like they can. So if I'm in Illinois and a kid says I want to stay in my state and they're in Texas, like, okay, I know we're not going to waste each other's.
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough about like the college experience and stuff. Now I just kind of want to spend a little bit of time and let's just talk powerlifting. I know one of the questions I had for you is Greenville and Powerlifting America. How and what decided that decision? Because Powerlifting America, while I'm not knocking it from a federation standpoint, it's very close to the same standard. It's just not big yet. So tell me what mentality or what concepts went to making that decision.
Yeah, so there's a few things there. One was, so I have been doing powerlifting for 7 years now, but I was never affiliated with a federation until within a year. So when they come up with me and say, like, we want you to start this team, I am an unbiased observer, and which federation do I personally believe will be the better one in 10 years? And I kind of came to the decision that I think it will be Powerlifting America. Now, if I'm wrong, no problem flipping.
Can I ask you what are some of the factors that made you think that?
The rise of stuff like Sheffield, kids seeing that. There is some small membership trends changing sides. It's the University Nationals is, I think, already doubled their, roster size from last year. I think 2026 is going to double again. And because I like the bid to go to Worlds, I think is like kids want to do that essentially. And when most of these collegiate varsity programs are competing USAPL, like, okay, so I'm a first year program and I'm expected to out recruit Midland and McKendree offering the same thing. No, I need to offer them something different. Well, here's what I can offer. I can offer you an opportunity to come here, go to Powerlifting America, and potentially go compete at Worlds. That's not for everyone, but it is something different I can offer as a first year program, right? So there was my thought process and all of that. And once again, if we don't give my athletes a good experience with this, then I will switch. But I don't foresee that being the case. Right now, I'm here with one athlete in New Orleans for bench nationals, and obviously that's not university nationals, but
still a national event.
Yeah, so I actually just got credentialed like not too long ago, so that was.
And like
fun.
I said, I agree with you. I'm a very unbiased. I compete in a federation myself. I have most of my club compete in a different federation, and then I'm a judge in 2 other federations. So I'm definitely not
right.
I think that meet directors are way more valuable and more influential than actual federations. I think that, your experience at a meet says a lot more to do with the director than it does the federation. So, go for most of the lifters that are never going to make it to the Worlds. The federation doesn't matter. I just kind of, like I said, I think it was interesting to see your story because you were brand new and Powerlifting America, while it's not new, it's not brand new, it is new, and kind of wanted to hear your story about why. Now, do you expect to have some athletes world qualifier capacity yet, or is that a goal of yours?
Well, there's several ways to get a Team USA, not several, but there are more than one way to get a Team USA singlet. So I have a couple that are, have a chance, is what I'll say, in year one. And one of them I didn't even recruit. He was already on campus playing baseball. And like, when this team got announced, he's like, hey, okay, I'm out. I'm coming to that. I'm like, that makes awesome sense. And now he's like the second ranked 74 that's registered. Yeah, I mean, okay. What? It's not WRPF anymore. What is it?
PLU.
Yeah. So when we were at that regional, I'm like looking at this production and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, why wouldn't you want to come on this stage? This is like you can wear whatever singlet you want. We got a guy in a White Castle singlet, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, if like Worlds isn't your thing, or like you want a more laid back environment. Not to say that like Sebastian's meet at Powerlifting America, Illinois are like stuffy. They're not. They're pretty chill, laid back. Like that was a fun atmosphere to be around. So like, and then you get to choose like, do you want to lift on the monolift? Do you want to lift on the combo rack? So yeah, that national anthem, like the whole setup when they started doing that was tons of fun. And Dustin just put on a great Dustin, and who was the other meet director?
I don't remember her name very well.
Taylor?
Much. Yeah, that sounds about right.
If it's not Taylor, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But no, that was a great meet. And then us and McKendry, they're recruiting. You know, you have great media. You have all the braided hair with the different colors. That was awesome too. Like that was a great time.
I wanted to get your opinion on as well. I don't know if you saw this, but USAPL used to be the only federation that allowed under 13 to actually hold records. They used to be guest lifters in any federation, and now USPA and PLU, which are probably the other two big federations as far as members. I know there's like a NPL as well, and there's some other like more equipped federations that are, but they're starting to offer 10 to 12-year-olds. What do you think that says about powerlifting, and what do you think that is going to have? Do you think that's going to have an impact on like a collegiate level powerlifting?
My off the cuff answer say it should be an indication that the sport is growing, but that maybe not necessarily. Maybe that's just, hey, if we offer it up to more weight classes, that's more registrations. But I mean, if they could already compete as a guest lifter anyway, then that kind of rules that out. I think you could start seeing talented kids start to specialize earlier rather than playing sports and then just doing powerlifting as like their winter thing.
What do you think that means for a lifter?
Man, I don't know. That's tough. Even when I have recruits who like are committed to powerlift and they maybe they play baseball in the spring, like, hey, what do you want me to do? And I just say, play baseball because you're never going to be able to do it again. So it's really hard for me to tell a 10 to 12-year-old, like, you should specialize in powerlifting, because it's like, go be a kid. If you would decide you want to specialize at 16, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, a 10 to 12-year-old, I don't think should be specializing that early in anything, right?
I was about to ask you that because I think that's another trend that I hate seeing in today's youth. You have kids that are on travel ball teams and play baseball or basketball or soccer 12 months out of the year. And some of these kids aren't playing other sports because for some reason they've told their parents that they love soccer the most. So they're like going all in that. From a training standpoint, and especially from an early development standpoint, what do you think that means to an athlete? Because I have an opinion. I'll tell you mine after you tell me yours.
I believe they clearly lose some well-rounded athleticism. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was a pretty good pitcher, like, and now he's an NFL quarterback. So clearly, like, one of those.
Deion Sanders could hit a fastball. So,
I'd be interested to see. I don't know. I really don't know if who's the Colorado Heisman winner plays corner and wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember his name. I'd be interested to see like if he played other stuff growing up, like, you know what I mean, or maybe he was just a kid that ran outside all the time. I don't know. I think they lose some of my best, most athletic teammates played 3 sports, and then maybe their senior year they played football, basketball, baseball, and their senior year like, hey, I'm out on basketball. I'm just going to do these 2.
Yep.
Those are the most athletic kids on the team typically.
And that's kind of so if I am talking to an athlete or an athlete's parents that enjoy sports, has a sports potential, I'm like, don't hinder them too young. There's not a all-star pro athlete that didn't only play one sport until probably junior or senior year. Like, you're actually lowering his percentage or their percentage of being overall successful because 1, burnout, 2, increase in injury in specific sports. So like if let's take a baseball pitcher or a softball pitcher, because I think that's an easily prone position. If you're playing 12 months out of the year, your shoulder and elbow are not going to survive to the fullest potential by college. Like, it's just not going to happen. You can't do that many reps plus all the practice. So give them some off seasons. Let them play soccer. Let them play basketball. Let that muscle heal and those ligaments heal.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, as far as, hey, he can't weight train because he's playing this sport, 12 months out of the year. I'm like, I just want to reiterate that strength isn't just about muscles. It's also building joint strength and
Yeah.
ligament strength. That the stronger you are overall, the stronger your joints and ligaments are, and
Yeah.
that's going to be an injury prevention tool as well. So they can do it 2 days a week and be perfectly healthy and actually probably out achieve if they were just playing sports specifically.
Yeah. And your bone density is gonna get, your bone density is gonna. My athlete's texting me; she's hungry. So
All right, I'm good now. Let me just get a minute or two to say anything else about Greenville, about powerlifting, about what you got going on, and then we'll end this episode.
yeah. So we're in year one, but I truly do believe that we have a situation to where we can be one of the top powerlifting schools very quickly, just because what we can offer. A lot of these small schools post COVID, like, they're really struggling financially. Somehow we came out of COVID better on top of things. So we're adding sports left and right. We just got bowling the other day. We have a bowling coach on campus now. So
That is
yeah,
a sport that still cracks me up.
yeah, no.
I mean, I understand it because it is competitive, but I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, I picked his brain about it the other day, and it's just fascinating. Like, it's just, he's over my head with it because I just don't get bowling. But yeah, shout out my wife for, supporting me through the crazy, because like
it takes a special lady, trust me.
3 years ago, we didn't know this would be our life, and here we are. And she's home with 3 kids, and it's kind of been a chaotic day, and she's sticking through it. So
And you're
shout
in a
out to
different
her.
state.
I'm in a completely different state, so shout out to her. She's a spectacular nurse. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, man. Well, I want to personally thank you for your time. I will make this call out. I don't know if this will be the actual first episode in my library, but this is the first episode that I'm recording. So I just want to thank you. Don't forget to give me some athletes' names. I love to pick their names, and just, thank you for getting on this journey. I don't know. I think this is going to be special when people see that it's not about the number one lifters. It's more about the everyday lifters. And I just want to thank you for coming on here and, doing this with me. And I look forward to maybe talking to you in a couple months, as maybe recruiting or lifting starts for the fall of next year. I'd love to hear year 2 stories.
Yeah, we could do a nationals recap, or like a beginning of the year type of situation. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, and all good. So yeah, thanks for having me.
No,
For sure.
thank you. All right, go Greenville.
Yeah,
Later.
thanks. See ya.